So, um, so I'm curious about Team USA and kind of your athletes there. How do you go about finding athletes or recruiting athletes for Team USA Minnesota?
I just watch Flow Track all the time. That's all I do. Just
Okay.
watch. No, I mean, I keep an eye on results, and there's a fair amount that's word of mouth through, our current athletes.
Mhm.
Maybe they have old teammates or people that they competed against um, that they know want to continue to train post collegiately. Um, but yeah, I kind of look at who's graduating in the area, who might be a good fit, and by the area, I mean kind of the upper Midwest. We're not
Mhm.
limited to that, but we haven't had a ton of people move from like Southern California. We had one guy move from California, but for
Mhm.
the most part, the odds are better of recruiting somebody who's accustomed to um, the climate here and things
Yeah.
like that. Maybe has family close by. So, um, but yeah, so then it's just kind of a reaching out and finding out what their plans are, if they're thinking about continuing post collegiately, and if they might be interested. Um, and then yeah, just conversation to see if it's going to be a good match.
Mhm.
And then eventually it becomes kind of like picking a college. You come and
Yeah.
visit, go through that process. Um, so yeah, but we're always kind of looking around and seeing who's out there.
Yeah. So I've talked to a lot of different. So I often talk to triathletes, which is kind of where I live nowadays. And I've talked to a few pros. So I'm kind of wondering, like, what is since you went through it yourself, trying to make the Olympics, and then now coaching these athletes, what is it like typical day, or what does life look like for athletes that are still working at that capacity post collegiately?
Yeah, I mean, most of our athletes, I would say, work part time. Um, just one, making a living solely as a runner is pretty challenging.
Hmm.
And two, I think it's healthy to have something else going on in life other than
Hmm.
just just your sport. So yeah, most of the runners will get up and um, you know we meet for practice several days a week in the morning, uh, and then get their workout in, their main workout for the day. And then yeah, oftentimes they'll again, like I said, hold down a part-time job, so they might go work for 4 hours or something like that. And then depends on the athlete after that. We have the marathoners. A lot of times we'll be doing a second run later in the day. Um, we do some auxiliary work, so strength, plyos.
Hmm.
So that's usually fit in later in the day after you've had a little recovery from the workout. But yeah, and then it's we're not the most exciting the exciting breed out there. Yeah, it's like recovery is just chilling out, making sure you're eating good food and getting a
Yeah.
lot of sleep. A lot of time with the foam rollers and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, most of our athletes are getting in once every couple weeks to see a PT or somebody like that,
Okay.
just for day-to-day maintenance type of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's an exciting lifestyle.
Well, I mean, when you're exhausted from however many miles you put in, you don't have a whole lot of impetus to go out and do whatever. It's most like, at least for me, for what limited miles I've accumulated, it's like I just want to sit on the couch for a while and hang out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Netflix.
The PT seems nice as kind of preventive care to like take care of anything before it becomes an issue, though. That seems like a very nice luxury, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, obviously injuries still come up and stuff like
Oh
that,
yeah.
but you can if you have somebody who knows kind of what your baseline is and can sort of identify things before they get to that point, it's saves you a lot of time of missed competition and training.
Yeah, yeah. And anytime I talk to somebody who's like, thinking about getting into running, or they're trying to like be a better runner, like I always say consistency is key. Whether
Mm.
it's, like you say you have a great session, but then you know, blow your hamstring out for some reason, you're off for 3 weeks. Well, if you had backed off that session and got the training in for 3 weeks, you're probably better off. So
Yeah.
yeah, that just being able to be so consistent. I'm not sure. Did you have a lot of injuries in college? I was like riddled with injuries.
You know, uh, well, I would say that my shins hurt for about the first 2 years.
Okay.
You know, I managed to get through it, but then I did have a stress fracture um, eventually. But other than that, nothing too much. I would say I was just kind of, our team was at such a high level that,
Hmm.
the workouts ended up being my best races, probably, just trying
Yeah.
to hang in there. So, uh, if anything, yeah, I was probably overtrained for the most part,
Mhm.
but fortunately, I just had the one big injury.
Did you guys race this again? A lot of these are like, I want to get to your research here in a second, but it's just personal curiosities. Did you guys race every weekend at Stanford?
No, I would say during cross country, we raced probably every other week. And
Okay.
then there were guys who would kind of come in, race maybe twice um, before like the district meet. So
Okay.
we had the depth that kind of allowed for that, I think,
Okay.
to sub people in and out and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, when it came to track, it was probably a little more frequent racing.
Yeah. I was like, our team was so sparse that it was you pretty much were racing every weekend, and just looking back, and even I think at that time, I thought it doesn't seem like the healthiest way to go about it. Because
Yeah,
you're race on the weekend, trying to recover on Sunday, back to hard work on Monday. It's just constant for
yeah.
3 seasons, and um,
It's
fatigue
really, I
fatigue
mean,
builds.
yeah, it's the college system is not really ideally set up for long-term development, in
Hmm.
my opinion. I mean, certainly if there are coaches out there who manage to do it, but yeah, like you said, if you're racing every weekend, when are you going to train?
Right.
Or and yeah, the risk of injury is just increased by that constant racing. And yeah, it's good to have a few weeks to be able to just put in some training.
Hmm. So I saw that you've um, put together a fair number of, I guess I'll say, research projects. I kind of want to talk about the one you completed most recently. I did my best to go through and um, absorb what you guys were doing. It's talking about is a study in regards to like uh, predicting marathon times through like running economy compared to like 10K pace. Do you know what I'm talking about? Am I saying that correctly?
Um, I think so. Yeah, I think that's
It's like you're using like the two different methods of the allometric scaling and like regular linear scaling to try to figure out if you could predict marathon times.
yeah, yep. So
Can you give it
uh,
like a brief overview of that so I don't butcher it?
yeah, so allometric scaling just means correcting for size. So when we look at like VO2 max or running economy, we're measuring the volume of oxygen
Mhm.
per kilogram of body weight per minute. Um, when in fact the actual cost of uh, running or human locomotion, it does obviously increase as you increase in body mass, but it's not a linear relationship. It's so what allometric scaling does is basically raises that um, your body mass in kilograms to the power of usually between 0.66 and 0.75, which basically reduces um, um, the effect of a change in body mass. So um, that's sort of the background on that. It's sort of it's one of those things where we always just report it in milliliters per kilogram per minute, because
Hmm.
that's what the software spits out, and it's easy,
Right.
but it's not the most accurate way of characterizing things. So yeah, using allometric scaling, um, uh, when looking at running economy data, we're a little bit better able to predict marathon performance based on the running economy data that we have.
Hmm. So it seems like you found that relationship where you had that window and you can say, okay, if we know they can run at this set at this particular speed, that they should perform at a certain marathon time. Does that can you take that, and does that play in a role into how you end up coaching athletes, or is it just um, a good way to say, okay, I know that they were at their optimal speed or not?
Yeah, I kind of came into research with the idea that, yeah, I'm going to be able to, like, test somebody, and then I'm going to be able to predict exactly what they're going to do.
Hmm.
But the more you know, the more you realize, wow, there are a lot of different variables and a lot of different ways that different individuals can get things done. So from a coaching side, I think it's more valuable just tracking an individual over time and looking at how that individual changes. Certainly, like one of my studies when I was a PhD student, I tested a woman before the U.S. Marathon Championships. I happened to also be coaching her, but she, her running economy was just amazing. And
Hmm.
this was I was testing people 1 to 2 weeks before their goal marathon.
Hmm.
So it does sort of give you, like, as a coach, to be able to say, yeah, confidently, like, this is another data point that says you're ready to go. And
Hmm.
yeah, she ended up, I think, fourth in the uh, U.S. Marathon Championships that year. So, but yeah, like I said, there's a lot of different things going on. There's the mental component. There's just the day-to-day variability, and you know, so it's fun to do this stuff and look at all the different things that go into performance. But yeah, unfortunately, there's no magic formula out there.